G'day, my name's Josie. And this is my best mate and partner in adventure, Suna.
Chili?
There's already a whole chili in there.
Okay, that's
Curry powder. A little bit.
We've been travelling New Zealand off and on for the last 2 years, from Cape Reinga in the north to the Catlins in the south. We have a 2-year-old kelpie called Jasper. He keeps us on our toes, but we can't imagine life without him. He's a crazy boy and we love having him by our side. This is a rig. No, not Shauno, the Landy. A 1995 Toyota Land Cruiser. Fun fact, he's the same age as us. We love this setup, but it's our home away from home and it's gotten us through a few sticky situations. I kinda do. How's that, boy? Anyway, crack a cold one, sit back and we hope you enjoy the video. Somebody's got a best friend. We started our journey just north of Auckland at a pub that served their own craft beers. A couple of chili infused cold ones later, and we were definitely fired up for the journey to come. Northland is dreamy. White sand beaches, crystal clear waters, volcanic mountains, lush green bush, harbours, estuaries and sand dunes. Many beaches up north are accessible by 4-wheel drive. It's real important to respect the area you are in and the local people, so these places continue to stay accessible for everyone to enjoy, including this guy, one of the locals basking in the sunshine.
Babe, I think it's a seal.
Don't be a dick. Always take your rubbish and acknowledge the history and mana of each place you're passing through. The Northland Peninsula was once an island separated from the rest of Aotearoa. It has the most mild subtropical climate in New Zealand, which made it our first pick for a midwinter getaway. It has a rich and diverse history, from its geology to the iwi groups, and later the whalers and settlers and people who now call Northland home. We'd like to acknowledge and pay our respect to the many iwi groups of Northland, including Muri Whenua in the far north, Ngā Pui on both coasts, and Ngāti Whātua in the south.
Ew. Own dog.
getting outside my comfort zone when we're travelling. I'm always learning, and luckily Shauno is a bit of a guru when it comes to vehicle maintenance, so we haven't gotten ourselves into too much of a pickle yet. If you're not that interested in watching me learn to check tyre pressure, you might want to skip the next 30 seconds or so, but if you're a nerd like us, keep watching.
Alright, so now get the outside one, yeah? Push it in, and then go anti-clockwise. You feel it lock in, and there'll be a bit of pressure, so you're going to hold it there.
So
Anti-clockwise, so you'll be unscrewing the valve stem.
Oh yeah, it's saying 32 on the dial now.
Yeah, so that's just the tire pressure now. But once you got to get the valve stem, I don't think it's out yet. Let's check. You've got to push it in there, you can feel it, lock in.
Oh.
And then you keep going. You see when you spin it, you can feel it go click.
Yeah.
That's it spinning on the thread.
Oh yeah.
So that's good. Let that out. And then grab this one and then pull it to you. Pull it. And then when you stop it, it tells you the PSI. So it's at 31. So then when you're letting it out, it doesn't tell you the true PSI. So you got to keep checking it. So it just make life easy. You.
Whangarei area is pretty magical. Calm harbours on the west for the fishers and boaties, and pumping surf on the east. Are you kidding? There wasn't much swell around while we were there, so we took a bit of a stroll up the Breamheads track. After passing a few hikers kitted out with full-blown hiking poles and knapsacks, we soon realised Janes were not the best for this one, but luckily the views were definitely worth it. Breamhead is one of many volcanic craters around the Whangarei area, created 16 to 21 million years ago from subduction-related volcanism as the Pacific Plate dove underneath the Indo-Australian Plate. Iwi occupied the area for over 500 years, leaving behind evidence of their way of life. More recently, in 1941, the area was under threat during World War II. The remnants of wartime structures are a reminder of the peace we're fortunate to experience today.
It's like a seal.
decided to leave our little man Jasper with his grandparents for this trip, as many campsites in Northland don't allow dogs in order to protect vulnerable wildlife and birds. As we headed further north, the beaches were quieter. Often we'd have the whole campsite and even the whole beach to ourselves. When the sun came out, we could almost pretend it wasn't 10 degrees and blowing southeast. We were fortunate to experience a brief yet pumping East Coast wow on our journey. We must admit, the area had a spooky feel, with rocky reefs just off the shoreline. We later heard a local yarn that this beach was well known for frequent visits from our friends, the great whites, who bred and spawned in the nearby harbour. Somehow, this didn't put us off. When we weren't surfing, we were busy dodging the frequent rainstorms which seem to hammer the area this time of year. We did manage to sneak in a few magical moments of sunshine between the squalls. We wound our way north, beelining 90 Mile Beach in Cape Reinga. If you are heading north, we highly recommend a stopover in the little fishing village of Manganui. Many original buildings remain intact, and the novelty of eating fish and chips on a building that juts into the harbour was too good to pass up.
Beautiful New Zealand morning.
The weather got pretty bad, but we weren't going to let it dampen our spirits, so after a soggy brekkie, we headed west for 90 Mile Beach. The Oniroa a Tohe translates roughly to the Long Beach of Tohe, who was an ancestor of the local Ngāti Kuri iwi. 90 Mile Beach is an official public highway, but don't be surprised to share this beach with horses, motorbikes, quads, and fishermen. It stretches from Ahipara in the south to Cape Reinga in the north. It is actually only 55 miles long, but we wouldn't have wanted it to be much longer given we were out of service in the area and we couldn't check the tides on the day. We ended up racing the incoming tide for the last leg, so in hindsight, it's best to check as this beach has definitely claimed a fair few vehicles and ships in its day.
That is the northeast windy day.
But it's supposed to find out
in the system.
I love New Zealand.
Governamente in the system.
Is that a dodo?
What's a dodo?
An extinct bird? Oh, look at you, mate.
He's a beast bird.
What are you?
We need like a seagull next to him for comparison.
It's a huge. This is a big bird.
You'll be disappointed to know it wasn't a dodo. We think it may have been a northern giant petrel. It was close to a metre in length and looked like it could match our 2-year-old Kelpie Jasper in size. It seemed pretty knackered, so we gave it a wide berth and left it in peace. We later read that these guys are pretty amazing ocean predators and will take on other seabirds, penguins, and even seals.
What kind of birds are they? Are they all oyster catchers?
Yeah, I think so.
Shit, you don't want to be. You don't want to mess with these guys, eh?
No.
This is New Zealand's most vicious predator.
Around 2/3 of the way along the beach, we came to the Maunganui Bluff. The tide had filled in, and Shono was not too keen to take the old girl through the incoming surf. The other option was this rocky track. It was above the tide line, but after walking it, we realised it could probably do some serious damage to the chassis of the car. We were feeling pretty gutted as we had wanted to reach the Tipaki sand dunes just north of the bluff, and we're now considering waiting out the tide.
The system.
Luckily, we sniffed around and found this goat track which took us off the beach and around the bluff. We met a guy later on who had tried the high tide track over the rocks, and unfortunately he had done some damage to his chassis and had to cut his trip short and head back to Whangarei to get some work done to his car. So we were pretty happy about our decision and finding this track. Just corrected me, and it was actually the bloke's axle, not his chassis. So yeah, FYI.
Government is in the system. Government is trapping the system.
We ended our 90-mile journey at the Tipaki sand dunes. This beach was definitely one of the highlights of our Northland journey. To top it all off, the Tipaki stream is freshwater, so you can give your car a much needed clean before heading back onto the road. This is the main route on and off the beach, so we are so lucky this is open to the public. The Tipaki dunes are pretty spectacular in themselves. They were formed over the last 1 million years, during a time when the sea level was much lower during the last ice age. Sand supply was more abundant, allowing this giant desert-like landscape to form.
Are they?
Oh yeah.
Looking fresh, so it was time to hit the slopes. We had brought the old faithful chili bin lid especially for the occasion, and Shauno was itching to give dune boarding a go. Luckily, a couple of local legends reminded us that several people had been injured on the dunes. Their advice was to use your feet to dig into the sand behind you to create a sort of break as you come down. While Shauno opted for the steepest slope available, it took me a good 3 goes to get much speed going at all. There are tours run by the local iwi who can take you to the dunes if you don't have access to a 4-wheel drive or a boogie board. It's a pretty fun experience, so we definitely recommend giving it a go, even if you're a chicken like me. Te a Wairua or Cape Reinga has been on our bucket list for a long time. It is the most northwestern point of New Zealand. It's a very special place in Māori culture, known as the jumping off place of spirits on their journey from this world to the afterlife or homeland of Hawaii. From the lighthouse on the cliff tops, it is possible to observe the meeting point of 2 oceans. The Pacific Ocean in the east meets the Tasman Sea to the west, and it's a pretty dramatic scene as the 2 currents crash into each other just off the coast. Not too far from Cape Reinga is Spirits Bay. There's a campsite in the bay where you can stay if you don't mind getting back to basics with no power, cold showers and long drop toilets. You can enjoy camping the good old fashioned way. Under an old purakawa tree and went to explore the beach. We found Spirits Bay really peaceful. It's a wonderful place to come and appreciate life and loved ones that are here or in the afterlife, and to appreciate the fine line that we walk between this world and the next.
It's a beetle.
Oh, get out. It's a big one. Oh, it's alive. We're vegetarian, we come and taste. Follow the rainbow.
We followed the rainbow west to one of our favourite bays in the north, which we'll leave unnamed. And I got a much needed haircut. Travelling through the middle of winter gave us such a beautiful glimpse of our country in some of its most still and isolated moments, but we were definitely stoked to share the beach and waves with some fellow travellers of the human and animal kind during this last leg of our journey. The swell was a bit smaller than we expected, but there were still some beautiful log waves on offer.
Yeah. Oh, that's a little gem.
We get points for that.
Rattling off. Rattling off. Nugget.
Thanks for joining us on our midwinter journey north. And if you made it this far, cheers for putting up with our shitty quality footage. We've got a lot to learn about this editing shenanigans, but we love getting out there and we hope this makes you want to get out there too.